So, welcome to another episode here on Julie Liberty Rose. Today, I'm talking with Tobin. Now, this is actually the third time that Tobin and I are trying to record. Tobin released a previous episode on his channel where we had a longer chat and got into more detail about his philosophy of life, and there's some really good stuff in there. So if you enjoy this podcast and you want to check out more of Tobin, then do check out that episode, and also check out his channel where you can find a lot more content about all the things that Tobin is about. So welcome, Tobin.
Thank you very much again to be back.
Yeah. And I'm so happy that today we're going to create something that is really where my fire is being lit right now. And that is discussing how we can create a life that is outside of the system, where we are no longer relying on the powers that be, and where we can strive for self-sufficiency. More and more people are looking for alternative solutions, and we are longing for a life that is in a lot more connection to the land, where we are able to eat from the land. And this is what you are essentially doing, right? You said that you were 80% self-sufficient. Is that that's correct? Yeah.
Yeah, more or less, hopefully a little bit more sometimes. We had touched upon in a previous conversation that the only thing I really don't produce here on my property that I consume on a regular basis is rice at this point. And I live in a town, Parita of Costa Rica, which has a big rice field, rice factory, rice business. A lot of my neighbors work there, so it's nice to be able to support a local business rather than some big factory farm somewhere or some import of rice. And just like supermarket, my entire intention with this was to create my own supermarket, because supermarkets as we know them are a modern phenomenon. They haven't existed for more than probably 100 years or so, the way that we know them. And for thousands of years, humans existed as I'm existing now, which is like growing their own market at their home or in their neighborhood with their community. So I feel I'm just tracing back the roots of our ancestors and trying to modernize it a little bit, in the sense that we have so much globalization that a lot of my species here on property come from Indonesia and the Pacific and places that have been imported. So we have a lot more variety here, which is exciting.
What are the fun things that you're growing on your land that people might not know about, but are really exciting things to discover?
Excuse me. Oh man, where to start? My mind immediately went to caviar limes. If nobody's familiar yet, or if some of you are, that's exciting. But if you're not familiar with the caviar lime, it's a lime that's like the size of your pinky finger, long and, elongated. And when you crack it open, it's not like a typical lemon or lime or orange. It has little beads, like fish eggs. And they're sweet fish eggs. The ones I have here are pink in color, interestingly. So it's like a green lime on the outside, and you crack it open and it's caviar. It's vegan caviar. That's an exciting one. Fruits that are, I would say, traditionally were exclusive to like really, really, really wealthy people that we can't find in supermarkets are things that I've really focused on growing here as well. Guanabana is a favorite. Soursop in the U.S. it's called. Also lychee or lychee. I never know how to say that, but that's another one. We have one in Costa Rica called mamoncino. The real name is rambutan. I won't translate what mamoncino means, but you can look it up on your translator. But it's a favorite here. And the lychee is like I would guess, just a more delicate, fancier version of that. And usually it's like exclusive for billionaires on the planet. And I just happen to be growing it on my property. So, like, that's just an example. Like, these things I had never even tried or had, even in a fancy restaurant in the U.S. And now here I'm growing an abundance of them. So, yeah, very, very unique way of living.
I just want to say that my daughter is completely obsessed with mamonchinos, and unfortunately now it's no longer the season because they have not a short season, it's a decently long season, but once they're gone, you miss them because you usually come out of not the grocery store, you come out of the market with like kilos and kilos of them if you want, and for such a good price too, that it's like you just end up living off of mamonchinos for a few months.
So also that said, one of my neighbors is a mamonchino farmer, a rambutan farmer. He's got 70 trees. So he's a person that I also trade eggs with in high season for mamones. And I get like like duffel bags, like two big grocery bags full for like 15 eggs.
Wow. That's like the dream, just not having to deal with money and just you putting love into something that you nourished, your chickens, and you gave them love and you offered them everything. And then it's this exchange, and there's so much more. The reciprocity that's found is what's precious, I think. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's something I noticed immediately when moving to Costa Rica because some of my neighbors knew my property. So everybody was excited when I moved in, and I was nervous because I moved to a different country, a new culture. I barely knew the language, and I'm tattooed. Like, there's a lot of stereotypes people can make about me, but everybody was so excited for me to move here, and I'm wondering, like, what is it? Like, do they read energy? Do they know I'm a good person? I have a good heart. Like, I'm here to help and contribute. No, what it was at first was they knew I had 4 giant water apple trees, manzana de agua. They knew I had cas trees. They knew I had mango trees. So they would come over with like plates of food or bags of food, and they'd say, "Here, new neighbor, but also, can we go check the water apple tree?" So now it's like a tradition that every time I have ripe mangoes or water apples or cas, which is like a Costa Rican guava, I just send a text message out to a few neighbors and I said, "These are ripe right now. Come on by, bring a bag, bring your family." And it's like in the Northeast, we would go apple picking with our families. They come over with like the kids, the grandkids, a bunch of bags, sometimes like a picker to get the high ones. They send the kids up in a tree to climb, and they're dropping down the fruits, and the parents are catching them with the bags. And it's a really exciting thing to offer the community because I have so much abundance here. And then they always show up that afternoon or a day later with plates of food they've made with, for example, some neighbors come and harvest the brown coconuts. I have some right here. So when a coconut goes from green to brown, the water that's in these ones becomes the meat that we like to eat, the coconut meat in these ones, and the water starts to absorb into the shell almost and create the meat. I love chopping these open and just having the meat from the coconuts. And but my neighbors have been doing this for generations. So they will take the meat and they'll make coconut ice cream and then bring that back to me to share with me. It's super exciting. Just to greet my neighbor coming home from his other house, his daughter's house. I have one direct neighbor, Pablo. You'll see him in other videos of mine, and that's the main family that comes over. He's got a few kids. He's got a grandchild now, so they love coming over. And what's so lovely about this situation is they're teaching the youngest generation. So I'll go over and bring a bundle of bananas, maybe drop off some coconuts, some cacao, eggs, and then later in the day, I'll hear a little voice, "Toby, Toby," coming from my gate. It's the 3-year-old grandson of Pablo who's got a big bottle of milk, and he's coming over to deliver it. So they're instilling the principle of like exchanging and sharing and connecting with your neighbors and stuff. It's really, really adorable.
One thing I've talked a lot about on my channel is the idea of building intentional community. But what's special about your situation and what you've really made an effort to cultivate is that you are integrated into the local community. And so you have that support network in a way that's just naturally developed itself because the people are rooted there, which I think is an awesome and very accessible way to thrive. It's of course so necessary that we learn to connect with our neighbors, that we make friends with them, and that we cultivate healthy relationships and exchanges with them. So the fact that you're offering the fruit from your land to them, that you're opening your doors and this warm welcome, it's like this generosity is what really heals the world, I think, because we end up just all living in a life of abundance. It's not like, oh, this is mine and I'm hoarding it. It's like, here, let's all share in this abundance, and then you trust that it's going to come back to you in another way. And this is really how it should be. We should all look for everyone in our environment to be thriving, not just ourselves.
Agreed. Yeah, I have so much abundance here at this point that I have to like beg people to come get it and form partnerships. Some people, for example, it's just I am I go to town like once a week, Centro Perita, just to socialize because, as you can see, I'm socializing with dogs and chickens more than any other living being in the trees, we could say too. So I go into town and I eat at this, restaurant, favorite coffee spot in town, and one of the guys that works there just feels a bond with me, and like he always like will hook me up with a free coffee or something, and at the end, like when I'm paying, he's like, I appreciate our friendship and things like that. So it's a genuine connection. And he started asking me the other day, like, oh, would you want to go into business together and sell some of your coconuts for coconut water to one of the fruit stands? And he couldn't understand my willingness to give them to him. Like, I have thousands of coconuts. And he was like, no, but you got to get paid. I said, when you get paid, I'll get paid. I said, so if you make 300 colones off of a coconut to sell it to a fruit stand and you're selling 50 at a time, give me 100 colones per coconut. I said, but if you're not making that money, it doesn't make sense for me to charge you because I want you to succeed. And it goes back to this somewhere in Africa, maybe a Swahili philosophy of Ubuntu. I don't know exactly where this came from, but you can look this up. Ubuntu if you're watching. It essentially, in a nutshell, means I am because we are. So I cannot be successful if you are not successful. That just doesn't make sense to my philosophical understanding of life, how I view life. And that's how I've always lived, but I've been able to really live it here because this property produces such abundance, and I've worked so hard over 5 years to plant way more abundance. Um, that, like you said, what you put out does come back to you. There is a karmic law to this universe, both good and bad, and I just try to put out as much good as possible to good people, so that comes back to me. For example, Pablo will come over if he's got a cold or something, and years ago he gave me like a plant they call guani lama. It's lemon verbena, and he's like, "Can I take some leaves of that?" And I can't say like, "Yeah, give me some money or something," because it's just an exchange system. So he gave me the stem to plant. Now I grow a bunch of it, so I give it back to him. And then when he's here, maybe he's making beans, so I give him culancho de coyote as well, and a few other herbs, turmeric or ginger or something. If he's got a cold, I say, make a tea out of this, put some lime juice in it. We go harvest some limes. So there is a very healthy exchange system that goes on here naturally. And then you can always amplify it wherever you live. Like if you're listening, you don't have to be in Costa Rica for this. You can do this anywhere. Find what your property grows, find what the forest around you can naturally forage, and then start to cultivate it, start to be able to recognize it, and then see what your neighbors are looking for, what they're going to supermarkets and buying. See if you could provide that instead with a much safer process, a much quicker process. It's much fresher. They don't have to wait for it to be transported across the world in airplanes and boats and trucks. You can get it fresh that day, that week, and then they will then just energetically start returning the favor to you. That's what I've noticed is once you give one thing, three things will come back to you somehow.
I think those are just laws of nature, of what you
Mm-hmm.
give. Same thing with, you shared in our first recording that what you give to the land gives back to you. So there's always this, I think that the universe is always looking for balance. And so there's some form of equality, or maybe that's not the right word, but it's just everything is always looking to balance itself out in a way. So whatever you're giving, it's going to come back to you if you're open to receive it and not attached to the way and when it does. Yeah.
Yeah, there's. I used to study a lot of mystical things, and in the Hermetic law, that's the law of correspondence. That's what they call it.
Amazing. I've been looking into that recently, just getting more into occult wisdom and curious
Mm-hmm.
about all of this and Hermeticism as well. And yeah, there are seven Hermetic laws about life, and basically they govern the universe. And so
Mm-hmm.
learning to live according to those laws, I think brings a lot more harmony and beauty and ease into our lives.
Absolutely. I mean, that realm of study, which comes from ancient Egypt or pre-Egyptian times, as we know them, pre-dynastic times. Um, for anybody that's listening, look into the Hermetic laws, and it's just very interesting. And the Kybalion, I think, is the name of the book as well. Yeah, very helpful for aligning a worldview for you to really start manifesting your dreams into this reality. And there's a lot. There's 20 count, which is the ancient Aztec mathematical system that helps as well. But there is, I should say, validity to a lot of these ancient studies that built some of the world's most successful societies. And we've lost track of these things. And, I guess moving back into an indigenous area now and coming from a town that was, still with a foundation of an indigenous tribe has kind of naturally led me into these studies in these realms, but they're accessible to anybody nowadays. So if you feel like for some reason your life is not manifesting as you want it to be, or it's not as fulfilling as you think it should be, there are ways to align principles within your mind to allow these harmonics to happen in your reality, which, is our destiny. We're not here to be unfulfilled. We're not here to be unhappy. We're not here to be in a point of like near starvation, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. We're here to receive abundance. This planet is abundant. Humanity is abundant with knowledge and potential, and we for some reason got taken off track or steered off track by some powers that be that want to just have us consuming what they're giving us. But we can provide all these things for ourselves. We just need to figure out the systems of alignment and then step into them.
I so agree. And I also think that the best way to ensure that we can do so or that we can really get outside the system and no longer rely on the powers is by doing it in a group and community, right? We were not meant to do life alone. We were not meant to steward land on our own. And in order for us to thrive, we need to have people. I mean, the blue zones of the world and the places on Earth where people live the longest is because they have that strong sense of community and true community, heartfelt connections, people who really see each other on a deep level. And this is so what I feel truly that I'm longing for in my life is a deeper sense of community. Just because having moved to Costa Rica, you're moving into a new homeland. You have to create new roots, and it can take a while to really feel that sense of community that the locals naturally have because they're very close to their family and because of the lifestyle that you're describing that you have. So you've been able to kind of integrate yourself into the local community. And those of us who have chosen to live in places where there are more foreigners, I'm not saying whether that's good or bad. That's just where I've ended up. Well, then we have to recreate that sense of community, and doing so, I believe the best way to do so is to build intentional communities where we also, of course, live in harmony with the locals who are living around, and there's this exchange. We're all trying to just strive for harmony on Earth. That's super important. But yeah, if all of us can sort of open our hearts and minds to we need to come together and we were not meant to do this alone, then our focus shifts away from our phones that are distracting us and isolating us to, hey, how can I learn to work with the people around me? How can I harness the gifts of my neighbors, the gifts of my friends, and how can we co-create something that is so much more likely to succeed because we're doing it as a group and we're putting our minds together?
Yeah, I 100% agree with everything you said, except the fact that, and I don't want to say that I don't agree with this, but you used the word I integrated myself here. I kind of I kind of fell into a strange opportunity almost naively. I've discussed it with friends and neighbors here. It was probably some type of reincarnation memory that I knew I had been here before, but when people visit me, they're like, how did you even find this place? And I can't explain it other than I had dreams of it for 5 years before I moved here, and it just kind of manifested this way. But I knew I wanted to immerse myself in some type of local community and local culture and not put myself in a pocket of foreigners that were moving to Costa Rica, which does happen so often, just out of comfort and societal consciousness, maybe, in the sense that, like, oh, somebody that's transitioning to another country knows that doing what I did is going to be crazy difficult. So they want to be with people that speak the same language, that are experiencing the same type of transition. And then maybe after a couple years, eventually move into something like I'm doing. But there's like expat pockets, we can call them, all over Costa Rica. And I knew I didn't want to be a part of that because I was coming to Costa Rica to become Costa Rican. So I somehow, by the luck of fate or destiny perhaps, immersed myself into this community that there's no other foreigners. I don't even want to say white people, but no other foreigners altogether within like several miles at the minimum. Like there's a few people here and there, but they've done similar things to me in the sense that like I know two men specifically that live about 5-6 miles away from me who are older. They're probably in their 60s now, 50s or 60s. And they both came here 20 years ago and married a Costa Rican woman and started a family. So they did something very similar to me. So this area, I believe in reincarnation. So I think we're all just reincarnated
I,
as white guys in this lifetime, but find our way back to where our roots are meant to be. You were going to say, I'm sorry.
I would love for you just to touch more about like how you were dreaming of this place for 5 years. Like that's so potent because I think that a lot of people are this is happening to a lot more people than people maybe realize. Like maybe they're not remembering their dreams, but we are actually really being guided by our dreams, and life is showing us where we're meant to go. I believe because that's been my personal experience because I work with my dreams, and I also even have a video about it, by the way, on my channel.
Cool. Yeah. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. So I just want to, I would love to hear like how you were led into this place, how you fell into this place that you feel that you were destined for.
Yeah. So I have recorded this in a video maybe a couple of years ago. I've told it to pretty much everybody I've met in Costa Rica who lives in this neighborhood when they ask me how I found this place, and all of my friends who have visited me that see how kind of off the beaten path my neighborhood is, but how like magnificent it is at the same time. And their question is like, this place is amazing, but like it's not near the highway, it's not near the beach, it's not near any other tourist communities. Like, how did you find this place? And here's my story. I'll try to make it as quick as possible, but I was living in New Jersey previously. I had owned a gym and fitness center. I had always been into kind of mystical studies. I was a master mason. I studied with shamans from the Native American tribes. I had a near-death experience where I left my body, and I had like traumatic brain injury. So I had all these different like things happen of DMT experiences, we'll say, throughout my life. I've always had the ability to lucid dream, specifically since I was in my car accident, whereas I could go into sleep state and it's just as vivid, if not more vivid, than the world we live in here. And then I'll wake up and be able to recall every single detail of my dream, conversations that I had word for word, people I saw, interactions I had, transitions to other scenes. When I closed my gym, my business, I had a lot more freedom, which meant I was also able to sleep more than 5 hours a night for the first time in my life. And I was able to like wake up and process instead of just getting up, alarm clock, shower, feed my dogs, get out the house, get in the car and get to work. So I was able to process dreams a lot more fluidly and lucidly, we'll say. And I recognized that I was having this recurring dream over a period of months. And I never really have recurring dreams, maybe once or twice, and then it's completely new the next night. This dream I had over 50 times, the same scene, for a period of 3 years before I moved here, so intensely that every time I was in the scene, it was like starting in a video game where like I had more access to the level than I had the previous dream. And I was able to explore more, discern more detail, interact with more people. And I was thinking, there's something to this. Like, I can't just ignore this. There's a reason I'm having this recurring dream, and I've never, ever had another reoccurring dream like this in my life. So I went to a supply store, an art supply store, and bought a big poster board. And I started drawing this place that I was experiencing. Over a period of 3 years, I had this big poster board filled with all these details, like shifts in the elevation of different terrain, different buildings. So when I finally moved here to Vasconia, Parita in Costa Rica, I didn't have internet, I didn't have television, I didn't have anything. All I had was some of these papers that I brought with me, business plans and ideas. And I'm sitting here for a moment after spending a day in town to get internet and communicate with people. And I went on Google Earth when I was in town and I screenshotted my neighborhood. And for some reason, I was sitting in my house, not able to do anything, no entertainment, just kind of like meditating, right? And absorbing my new environment. And I thought, oh, I have the paperwork. So I pull out all this paperwork and I'm going through my business ideas and plans. And I unfold this poster board and I'm looking at it. I'm like, this looks strangely familiar. Take out my phone and I look at the screenshot from Google Maps or Google Earth. And I don't know how to explain this feeling. I felt like the Truman Show. You guys know the Jim Carrey movie, The Truman Show. Like all of a sudden he realizes like maybe he's a character in a TV show or like a game or something, and like he's being targeted and watched. And that's really how I felt. Like I sunk into the seat and got like almost like a cold sweat. Like what is going on here? And I'm comparing the screenshot on my phone to this big poster board, and everything is lining up. Every single building, every single street, every single elevation change. And then I look at the circus tent, right? What I had question mark circus tent. There's a rodeo in my neighborhood. So if you guys are watching this and you want to see this, Google the Jungle Temple Parita and go to maps. And you're going to see my neighborhood from the map view. And you're going to see a rodeo that's a circle that's 2 stories high. I'd never been to a rodeo in my life. I'm from New Jersey, New York City area. We are not cowboys. We don't know what a rodeo is. That's a Texas thing. My neighborhood here is all cowboys. So I'm looking at this rodeo and it's lining up to where I wrote circus tent, and it hits me. Somehow, my dreams for 3 years, over 50 recurring dreams, were of this neighborhood. Somehow I was either projecting here, or it was like, I still don't know how to explain it. It was my future self. And maybe in the future, humans gain access to like an extrasensory ability, like telepathy, and we could send these things back in time through a quantum computer or something. I don't know how to explain it. Maybe my angels, a guardian angel, was guiding me here somehow. My father had just passed away. Maybe he was pulling some strings on the other side, like giving me these visions to say, this is where you belong. I don't know how to explain the science behind how it came to be. I just have validation that I was dreaming of this place specifically for years before I even knew where this place was in the world. And I wound up moving here. So back to what Julie was saying was that I think and I believe at this point that we are all receiving visions and dreams of where we're meant to be in life. And we can't just write these things off when we wake up. There's a reason that we're having this dream, whether it's to resolve a trauma or improve a relationship or find the place that we're meant to exist in, that we were destined to live in and thrive in. Because a lot of people I've met in my life are not fulfilled, and they're just kind of going through the routine and going through the process of existing rather than thriving. And I truly believe that our dreams are sent to us, both physically, our actual dreams at night, and our hopes and wishes and goals are sent to us from somewhere else or some other time and space, where we're maybe projecting these things to ourselves from a higher plane, saying, this is what you need to do, follow the instructions.
Yeah. I'm always dreaming up the things that I'm creating. My dreams are always showing me what I need, where I need to go, basically. They're my system of guidance that I use the most. And I've also set that intention with them. I've developed that relationship with them so that they're serving me in that way of showing me my path, because that's really important to me and to creating a life that is really of the highest path for my heart and for my soul's evolution. So there's also a process yeah, I don't want to go too much into detail about the dreams because we could talk for hours about the dreams. But yeah, I think if more and more people start to like realize that actually there's always a form of guidance, whether it's your dreams or whether it's just synchronicities of life, like there's always these funny synchronicities that are happening that life is showing us, yeah, like this is something to look into. It's important, listening.
It's an interesting phenomenon right now. I have a feeling in the coming years, there's going to be some disclosures from science, from the government, from mystical societies that say, listen, like our reality is dimensionally much more complex than we've acknowledged it to be in the past. and we have ways of educating people on how to do this now. There's been mystics all throughout time and society from different places all over the planet, from the Buddha to Christ, if you believe that, to Hermes in Egypt, ancient Egypt. Mystics from South America, Central America, the shamans from all over the planet. They've had insight to this, but it's been very difficult for them to translate it to the layperson, because there's never been in the history of the world a connectivity and a globalized technological integration like we have now with social media, and be able to communicate in different places via video instantaneously. It's as if everything's coming to a crescendo in our generation, in our lifetime, that all of these teachings can find their way to the mass population in an instant. And I think technologically and spiritually, they're actually approaching kind of the same pyramid top. And at some point soon, that peak is going to happen. And then some type of beam is going to illuminate all of us and say, listen, like, you're ready for this now. You don't have to go to the shaman and go through some type of ritual process in order to learn a little bit about the lessons you're supposed to have. Like, we may be able to plug ourselves into some type of headset at some point that's connected to our computer, and maybe with the help of AI, it's going to resonate a certain frequency that allows us to see our dreams on a screen, and then to interpret them through some type of translation service, which we're using all these things in different ways right now, but it's fragmented. I really genuinely, truly believe that we're at the precipice, at the gateway, at a door right now, and we're opening the door to this new realm of reality, this new epoch of reality, where we can all manifest everything we've ever dreamed and desired instantaneously. And what I've experienced is not limited. I know thousands, tens of thousands, if not millions of people have experienced something similar to me. And that maybe in 2 years, and 5 years, and 10 years, we're going to come to the point where we meet ourselves who have access to this technology to transmit messages back to our younger selves and guide our path. So I truly believe that, like, there's a lot of possibilities, but my hypothesis, my theory, is that a future version of myself had the insight, the wisdom, the inner technology to project these thoughts into my dreams on a recurring basis, so that I would wind up here, so that future Tobin would be here and have built this life already. And every day that things happen here, synchronicities happen, I start to believe that's more and more true.
So interesting. In my case, I know that part of my soul mission, and it's written in my gene keys, is to create alternative systems that are offering us possibilities outside of the current paradigm. And because I have to create these systems that have not yet been created, I use my dreams to do so. It's like my dreams are like, okay, try this. Or, it's like a form of experimentation of always getting like little hints into where I'm supposed to go. So it's not a grand design because it hasn't been created yet. It's a slow process of alignment, and it's all about energetic alignment, of healing my body and of embodying certain frequencies so that I'm able to be a magnet for what I am attracting, to create these new systems. And my dream is to create a birth center here, and it's more than a dream. It's not a dream that's come through my dreams. It's more actually a dream that's coming from spirit, and very much being guided, like, this is what you're meant to do, to create a system for babies to be able to come into the world in a way that is fully sovereign and preserves their divinity. And so this in Costa Rica has not yet been created, at least not in a way that's ever been publicly, said. And there's a lot of things that will need to be shifted or worked around for this to become possible. And life is also right now helping me to align with the right people who are going to have the solutions. And it's always this process of like, okay, like, just alignment and doing so, whether it's energetic alignment, essentially, which is guided by my dreams. So I didn't expect
Awesome.
the conversation to go in this direction. And it's also super important to me, and those who know me well know how much I love dreaming and how much I love to analyze my dreams. And I don't like to use AI too much, and I also check out ChatGPT once in a while to be like, why did I had a dream of a paper shop in Guatemala like 2 months ago, and I'm understanding 100% why I had a dream about a paper shop in Guatemala. It's like now my life is showing me like, yeah, it's amazing. All of a sudden I never talk about Guatemala to anybody. Like Guatemala is a country, and all of a sudden everyone's like, oh yeah, I just came back from Guatemala. Oh, I went to this important thing in Guatemala. Oh, he's here from Guatemala. It's just like suddenly it's all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, it's
So
a magical place. There's pyramids all over Guatemala. Some have been discovered, many have not been discovered. So there's the ancient technology is there, transmitting to the world, whether we acknowledge it or not.
yeah,
And then we
yeah,
can dive into reincarnation, and maybe you were there in a past life. And the way I perceive time at this point, through all of my studies, I don't think time is an actual construct that affects us. I believe that the nature of true reality, like ultimate reality, capital U, capital R, is a time free thing. I think all dimensions and all timelines are actually kind of collapsed in the same place, and our perception deters us from seeing that reality. I'm not saying that I can perceive true reality and authentic reality the way that maybe like a god would be able to perceive it, but the way I understand it is that our senses as human beings limit us from perceiving time properly. And the reason I'm saying that is because my next question to you is going to ask, if you're having these dreams and you might not be able to understand why or where they're coming from, I will ask you right now, what's your first instinctive answer when I ask you, where do you think they're coming from? Or when do you think they're coming from?
they're coming from a future version of me, but that future version of me isn't so far in the future. Actually, it's not like 10 years down the line. It's like it's hard to speak about time because there's no such thing, but it feels relatively close because I'm working with what's in front of me and I'm building new pathways. It's like, how quickly can you build a new road? It's like it takes a while you got to keep digging slowly. It's like, and then eventually the road is cleared. So
Yeah, so my perception of it is that road's already there. The moment that you have the idea that there should be a road there, that road does exist in reality. And we can start talking about parallel universes and stuff, but I think that's complicating something that's way more simple to understand, is that everything that could potentially exist does already exist. And now we're getting really deep into quantum theory and quantum mechanics, but this is where the world is right now. And even Marvel movies and TV shows are discussing this type of stuff. So we as humans, and even animals and even trees to a degree, they just move at a much different pace than us. We do experience time as a way of interpreting our senses. But in reality, when a human dies, when an animal dies, time doesn't exist. What exists is what is in reality. And I know this is like we're getting into conceptual stuff right here, but this will resonate at a deeper level if your attention can stay tuned to it for everybody listening. So when Julie has a dream about this birthing center or this road that she's discussing, and she's building the road and starting to dig to create the road, in my perception is that birthing center already exists somewhere in some space, not in some time. It exists in concrete reality. Now, the idea is it might be an interdimensional or an intradimensional understanding of this thing, that yes, this is a concrete reality. Tobin living in this property in Costa Rica has always been and will forever be a concrete reality. But where I was in time and space when I was having these dreams, I had not yet in this dimension manifested myself here. But somewhere I had. And this was a concrete reality regardless of time and space. And that's how I found my way here. This birthing center, that road, they all exist. You can call it in a parallel universe, but the cool thing is we would not be experiencing through our senses this parallel universe unless it was meant to happen in this universe, in this dimension, in this timeline. Otherwise, we would not perceive it. There's no reason that we would perceive it. That would be some type of mass consciousness schizophrenia, and things would not come into play. Like, and what I mean by schizophrenia is, like, for those of you that understand something like schizophrenia, it's not multiple personalities in someone's head. It's it's like a fractured mirror of somebody's ability to perceive themselves. And they don't perceive themselves as truly themselves. They perceive themselves through these characters and these personalities that are telling them how to interact with the world around them based on some type of fractured trauma system that they're integrating into their mindset so that they can handle reality. That's not what this is. This is our reality as it's meant to be, showing us how to get there as quick as possible. And if we ignore our dreams, it's going to take longer. If we pay attention to our dreams, it's going to come quicker, because this is the reality that is resonating with us at our heart and soul level, that maybe our senses are confusing us away from, or our conditioning is telling us we don't deserve for some reason. But they push through strongly when it's a really important dream, because that's the reality we're meant to be living, to be the happiest self or version of ourselves, to be the most fulfilled version of ourselves, and to be the most effective version of ourselves in our lifetime, in this reality now. Did that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. I want
So
to just...
yeah, go ahead, please. Tell
No,
me.
I was trying to remember what I wanted to say in relation to something you said before. So you can just finish up.
Just as the sense of time, right? I don't necessarily at this point, through all my studies, perceive it the way I used to, and perceive it the way the mass population perceives it. I think it's a trick to trick our senses away from experiencing authentic reality, true reality.
I think
this is what... Go, please.
And I think that if we circle back to this illusionary supermarket world that we're living in, the fact that we're not aware of all of this is because our focus is being distracted from the abundance of dimensions and possibilities that are actually existing. It's like we're being told that reality is this thin, when in reality it's like it's infinite. And so what's in front of us is there's just so much more, and there's so much more possibility. In reality, there's no limitations to what we can experience and what we can create. And so we keep ourselves so small, and we tell ourselves, oh, I can't. We all have these dreams. We have these dreams of a greater world, of a greater life for ourselves, for everybody. And it starts with opening up to, hey, there is so much more possible for me. There is so much more that I can achieve if I believe, if I tune in, if I harmonize my body, mind, spirit with the natural world, get away from technology, get away from my beliefs that I have to adhere to a certain way of being, if I remove the limitations, stop saying but, and just be like, hey, okay, I'm going to start opening up and listening to the beauty of God that is all around me, and that is striving for harmony, right? I think that in the end, we're all looking for a sense of harmony. And so this is where life is guiding us to. This is how we can feel a sense of fulfillment and joy. And so listening, and this is how we can actually start to live a life of self-sufficiency, because life, if this is what we strive for, this is what we want, we don't want to be slaves anymore to systems that are hurting us and that are making it so that we are not feeling fulfilled, then we need to start daring to listen and daring to act upon where we're being guided courageously.
Mm-hmm. Correct. So. And you mentioned the word illusion earlier. In ancient Sanskrit, Hindu, tantric texts, the world illusion was known as Maya, right? I'm just going to break that down a little bit. And the ancient mystics, the Buddha himself, said there are techniques to transcending Maya, the world illusion. It doesn't mean the world is an illusion. It means there's an illusion superimposed kind of dimensionally over the world, over human consciousness, that we're meant to transcend and break free from. Now, how we can relate to that nowadays is there were the movies with Keanu Reeves, right? The Matrix. This was based on a book. This was the modern way of understanding Maya, the world illusion, is that we are all plugged into something that we arrived plugged into, but it's not reality, and we can literally break free from it. And in the movie, right, they broke into true reality, which is much more harsh to your senses and much more limited in the sense that you're not perceiving all of this illusionary wonder, but you're experiencing authentic reality for the first time, and you finally have the controls over your own destiny. And at any point, you can plug yourself back into Maya, the illusion, the matrix, and start to have more mastery and control over the matrix, right? Like Neo was when he would go into the matrix. He was like the God man. This was the Buddha. This was the Christ. These were these mystics, St. Joseph of Cupertino, who had these abilities to do things that normal humans could not do. And the reason is because they were able somehow to break free from the chains, from the slavery of this illusion, this matrix. And we now, back to my point of the world being so connected with social media and having these conversations, have more access and potential than any other time in the history of humanity to all collectively break free from the illusion, Maya, the matrix, and start to integrate ourselves into true reality, to live in what the Rastafari, a lot of people, and I don't want this to be misconstrued, but Zion, a perfect reality, nirvana, as they called it in the ancient Sanskrit text, right? When you would break free from Maya, you had access to nirvana, a pure, perfect state of reality in which you could reintegrate yourself into the matrix and have a lot more control and inner peace and insight into what was going on in the processes of nature and science and reality and mind that we didn't have access to before because we were being controlled by some type of external oppressionist system that isn't necessarily evil. It's just meant to make life easier for us in the sense that we don't have to have the free will and power to do things ourselves.
Totally. Empowerment. Yeah, it's all about empowerment is what I was going to go and say. It's like
Yep.
remembering that we are so powerful and that we can achieve anything we want, and stopping self-sabotage, which so many of us are good at, including myself, and being like, no, I can create a life that is aligned with my dreams, with my heart, with my soul, with everything, and going for it. You know, this is the only way out. It's the only way out.
And
we
it's
actually don't have a
difficult.
choice.
Yeah, it's difficult, as you've expressed, finding your community. I've had enormous difficulties and challenges that I never even imagined having in my old life before I moved here and freed myself from the Matrix. That is in the movie The Matrix, when they get unplugged and they're eating like the same food every day and they don't understand like there was a character in the first Matrix, his name was Cypher. He was the bald guy with the little mustache, right? He chose to go back into the Matrix because he didn't like true reality. And
Yeah.
he made a deal with the AI machinery to go back into the Matrix and just enjoy steak and enjoy this stuff, right? At any point, if when you break yourself free from Maya, the illusion, the Matrix, you can choose to go back into the Matrix. I could choose to sell all this here, not challenge myself anymore, go back to New York City, get a job working for somebody else, wearing a suit and tie, getting told what to do and make good money, and forget that this reality even exists. But it would be very difficult to forget how happy I am, to forget how fulfilling and rewarding facing these challenges are, and then overcoming them and learning about myself and learning more about reality and being able to share these lessons with other people.
Yeah.
So it's
A
a
lot of
catch-22,
people
this reality.
a lot of people aren't ready for the sacrifice, right?
Correct.
There
And
is
it's not
so much
easy.
that you are
Not
sacrificing
for
by living
everybody.
in Costa Rica, and striving for self-sufficiency is sacrificing so many modern comforts. It's choosing a life of discomfort. And what I'm looking for
Temporarily.
temporarily, exactly. It's I don't want to say short-term pain for long-term gain, because it's relatively long-term pain for long-term gain. But it's not
Well,
pain.
it
It's not pain.
depends.
It's
Perception, right?
perception, exactly. It's just shifting of expressing gratitude and feeling gratitude for what you do have, for the abundance that is in front of you, that is true abundance, not this false abundance of this fake reality that's only seeming more fake by the day. So it's, yeah, opening your eyes to
And
the
true freedom,
richness.
right?
True
True freedom.
freedom.
You know,
Yeah.
I cannot compare my journey to what I've been through to somebody who is enslaved in the early start of the United States that gained their freedom. But can you imagine how terrifying it must have been for somebody who was enslaved from the moment they were born until the moment they were maybe 25 years old, 30 years old, and then tried to literally liberate themselves from chains and abuse on a daily basis, and watching everybody around them get tortured and abused, everybody that they loved, but to then have the fortitude of spirit to free themselves so that their next generation, their children, might have an opportunity to understand owning their own home, growing their own food, going to school, having the liberty to determine their own destiny rather than being told what to do every day. I cannot compare our current reality to that reality, but I empathize and understand and sympathize way more with the strength that it took for somebody who is enslaved. Still, there's slavery going on today in different countries and different places of the world. The strength it takes and the fear that you have that needs to be overpowered by courage and hope is extraordinary. And I don't expect it of anybody on this planet, but you should expect it of yourselves because you deserve it. I knew I deserved it and I went for it, and I didn't even think of the courage it might require for me. I just was focused on the freedom it would provide me and the opportunity to break away from the reality that I was stuck in, that I was raised in, that I had no choice on. And it wasn't horrible, the reality I was living, but it wasn't what I was meant to be doing. So I knew that I would grit and sacrifice and bleed and cry for a better reality, and it's paid off. And I'm at the point where it is becoming fruitful, and I do have freedom and liberty that I never imagined having before. And that's why Miss Liberty here is giving me the opportunity to express myself, because she has resonated with my state of consciousness and that it can inspire other people. And I was inspired by others that did this before me. So it's not limited to just a small pocket of humans. I want every single human to break free from the system that they're entrapped in, or let's say enslaved to and chained to, so that you have, all of you that may be listening to this at some point in time and space in the future or this week or this moment, know in your heart that you have the potential to live your dream reality now. And it's going to take sacrifice. It's going to take struggle. It's going to take a lot of pain and blood, sweat, and tears to get there. But I promise you it will be worth it.
100%. That was so good, Tobin. I want to stop there because it's just like, yes, exactly. This is the only way out. It's through.
Yeah.
Let's go. And it's how we create the shift into the 5D. Everyone's like, you know, the eagle and the condor. This is it. It's owning your life, stepping into it fully, saying
Correct.
yes.
Well, that fifth dimension exists. It exists. You live there already. That's why we're receiving these dreams precipitating down to the third dimension. Let's talk about the science of it. That reality exists. I existed here before I lived here, before I even knew where here was, and I was having fucking dreams about it. So that 5D reality that was fully manifest now for me was sending fucking darts and airplanes and what do you call it?
Yeah.
Morse code and every message that they could possibly send to me to say, wake the fuck up. I'm sending you this stuff for a reason. Go do it now. We need to do this now. And here I am. So I'm a testament of that. This is an actual science, and that your dream reality, all of our dream realities exist already. Like Julie just said, it's in another dimension of reality, but that dimension coexists. It's superimposed on our plane at all times. That fifth dimensional reality is here right now, and I've been bridging from the third dimensional reality to that fifth dimensional reality, transcending the fourth dimension, which is time, transcending that to manifest that dream reality here in the third dimensional plane. And if we all do this, literally, if we all collectively do this in this generation, there's no more 3-dimension. There's no more war. There's no more poverty. There's no more starvation. There's no more hunger. There's no more want. It just is our dream. We deserve to live on a planet that is our dream reality. Otherwise, we would not have these dreams, plain and simple.
Exactly what I was about to say. This reality would be so different if everyone actually stepped it up and stopped being enslaved, stopped relying on these systems that are keeping us in fear and in lack and in away from our divinity. And I think that we're waking up to it, and we have to wake up to it. It's the only way out. It's the only way we save the world, from destruction, essentially. We have the choice. One timeline is the destruction of the earth, the one where we keep relying on the systems, and the other one is a flourishing earth. And it starts with each of our own individual actions that are going to guide us in the right direction. So what timeline are you choosing for yourself? That's it.
Perfect way to end it.
Yes.
Choose the proper timeline, precipitate it down, become your dream reality right now. Thank you for listening.
This was so good, Tobin. Thank you so much. Wow, this is the third time we record, and every time it's like there's just so much richness to it. Yay.
Perfect.
So,
awesome.
Tobin, you have a YouTube channel, which will be linked down below. You also offer farm tours on Airbnb, which will also link down below. So if you actually want to go connect with Tobin in person, and actually Tobin and I are planning on recording in person a farm tour. So if you want to go with me, let me know, because we could bring a little group together and film at Tobin's property and eat the delicious fruit that's fruiting and enjoy and indulge in the true luxury of abundance.
Please come.
Yeah.
See you soon.
Awesome. And so, yeah, thank you so much, Tobin. Do you have anything to add?
Nope. Just subscribe to her channel and share this with everybody you know, because the world needs to hear it.
Yes.